Land and or natural resources, the second L in cell. This refers to all the raw materials which will need to be converted into finished goods, which any business sells or needs for production. The reward for this L or land is rent, meaning that if you were to need a building or land from which to work off or from, you will need to pay the owner of that land rent. Now, natural resources can be divided or separated into three subgroups. Number one, those on the surface, which can include forestry, agriculture, and water. Number two, those below the surface, which may include all the minerals and precious stones which can be found through mining. And number three, those above the surface, the all needed rain and solar or climate energy which may be harnessed. Yes, sometimes you can find precious stones above ground, but for now, generally, let's just assume that they are only found below ground, just to enhance your understanding. Okay? So there we go. Natural resources are essentially the gifts of nature, which are chopped, mined, harnessed, fished, whatever you may want to call it, all in the effort to be used to produce finished goods or services which are to be sold. So in South Africa, we have the following natural resources. We have an abundant source of sunlight and wind energy, which is why in the Northern Cape, there is a solar farm and a wind turbine farm, which are used to generate electricity. Minerals, well, in South Africa, we have everything from coal to platinum. The only thing we do not have is oil. And then we have a vast coastline where we can fish and in some instances catch a glimpse of sharks. Then there's agriculture, which involves farming with crops such as mealies, sunflowers, tobacco, and different types of fruits and vegetables. And there's something called animal husbandry, where people breed animals for meat, milk, and skins. This can include domestic animals like cattle, sheep, horses, even dogs for that matter, as well as wild animals that form part of the ecotourism in South Africa. And then in South Africa, we do not have forests, but we do grow certain trees such as pine so that we can use it to create furniture. If you go to Mpumalanga, you'll find a lot of tree growing estates or farms there. And then fresh water, no person or animal can live without fresh water. There's also freshwater fish. It is important in the functioning of factories. And then production may not be possible if these natural resources were not available. So yeah, natural resources cannot be used in their natural state. They need to be changed or processed into goods suitable for human consumption. So here they make an example of land used for farming is used to grow food, wool from lamb, and meat for eating. Even with gold and some precious minerals, they have to be processed in order for you to see the final product. Gold does not look like what it does when it comes out from the ground. It comes out in the form of an ore, which is normally melted down and put into gold bars, and then which are further processed into rings and other jewelry. So this slide just goes back to some of the natural resources which I mentioned we have, well, around the world, and here in South Africa, we are lucky to have the majority of them. So now, land or gifts of nature can be separated into two. They can either be renewable resources or non-renewable resources. Now, what do we mean by renewable and non-renewable? Renewable resources are those that if you use them up, you can plant them again or grow them again. Non-renewable are those which cannot be replaced. So once it is used, that is it, nothing more. You cannot put it back again. I like the picture that they use there. It shows oil. I mean, oil is a byproduct of all the bones, trees, everything that used to live a long time ago, which got buried deep underground, which sat there for years and eons and mushed up and became slime, which converted into oil and tar, which is used to pave roads. And once you extract that oil and use it, process it and make petrol, or use it to make tar, you cannot regrow that oil. The number of years is just way too much that you, as a human who only lives for up to 100 years, will not be able to wait for 1,000,000 years for everything on the surface to die and then create oil again. So it cannot be replaced. Once you take gold out of the ground, you do not have new gold deposits. Once you take out diamonds from the ground, you cannot have diamond deposits, which is why if you actually look around the whole Ekurhuleni area in Johannesburg, there's a lot of empty abandoned mines. The only mine that was actually made useful again, which in my opinion is the only mine, is Gold Reef City. And when we talk about renewable resources, these are resources which can be replaced. So you chop down a tree, you can plant a new tree. You pick a fruit, you can wait another year and that fruit can regrow. So those are resources which are renewable and non-renewable. Make sure you know the difference in this instance. And then, with all resources, they have to be used sustainably. We have to think about the people who will come after us. And not only that, we also have to think about the people who live in the country currently who need jobs. Because through the sustainable use of resources, we can reduce waste and more jobs can be created. The biggest unfortunate thing that we do here in South Africa is that we sell our resources to the world only to buy the processed goods back from them at a much higher price. Which is sad because now this is an opportunity where we could actually create a whole lot of jobs through processing plants. So with all the iron that we mine, we could process that and make steel. There are, not to say that there isn't steel firms in South Africa, however, they are not as much as they should be. They're not nearly enough because the biggest producer and processor of steel in the world is China. China buys a lot of iron ore from around the world and it processes it to create steel. A natural, okay, then there I repeated the whole renewable and non-renewable agenda. And it's, I think it's very important because it talks about sustainability, and sustainability is a big issue that a lot of times in the pursuit of profit, some companies just seem to forget. And it is sad because now imagine if there was nothing, no tourism hotspots in South Africa because they were unsustainably used. Land was just destroyed to create profit, and then tomorrow nobody wants to come and see a big mine dump. There's no mine dump tourism in South Africa, and considering that in South Africa a whole lot of people who are job seeking and within the ages of 16 to 65 are unemployed, it is sad that we do not take sustainability as seriously as we should. Activity time. You need to do activity 1 on page 49 to 50, and then there is an additional activity which you will find under tasks in my ebooks. This activity is for marks, so I need you to do it in your books, and then once we return to school, I will mark it and capture the marks. Thank you for listening, and yes, enjoy the next lesson.